The Buffalo Bills' third preseason game is in the books. They get a 24-21 victory over the Chicago Bears in Chicago and finish this preseason 2-1. I am Josh McCarty from Bills Chat, and let's talk about everything we learned in that third preseason game. The Bills made the decision to play their starters this week, and it went very well for the first team offense as they went down on their opening drive, scored a touchdown, capped off by a Damien Harris goal line run. And the notable piece there is Damien Harris did come in for James Cook in those short yardage situations. Could be a sign that Damien Harris is going to get those red zone opportunities. Josh Allen finished the day 5 for 7 for 49 yards. His day was done pretty quickly after that efficient drive. Kyle Allen came in relief, and it's been what we've seen from Kyle Allen. There's been some good, there's been some bad. We learned yesterday that the Bills were one of the teams that made a call on Trey Lance, who ultimately got traded to Dallas. That tells me that the Bills are going to be actively looking in this backup quarterback market. I don't think that the Bills are sunk with Kyle Allen. I think he is basically a baseline backup in this league. But what you see with him is he has plus mobility, he has a decent arm, but man, he is slow to go through his progressions. And it's almost like if he has to come off his first read, you just put your hands over your eyes, wondering what's going to go wrong on this play. Held onto the ball too long on one play for a strip sack, had an interception that he forced into Gabe Davis, a very poorly thrown ball in that first quarter. Did have a nice touchdown pass to Quentin Morris. Great catch by Morris, great ball by Allen. But overall, I don't feel better or worse about Kyle Allen right now, but I also don't think he's the biggest issue on these Buffalo Bills. As far as the middle linebacker situation, Tyrell Dodson and AJ Klein got a lot of work today, and they both played middle linebacker and weak side backer. And I'll tell you what I've been saying all along. I don't think that the Bills have a good answer at middle linebacker on their roster right now. I thought Tyrell Dodson was pretty bad in coverage. There was a play going around Twitter where he was very slow to react on an easy pitch and catch over the middle. An NFL Follies level tackle attempt from AJ Klein where he just went flying on your screen, nowhere near the ball carrier. Overall, what we saw from AJ Klein, though, is what we have known him to be. Solid in run support, knows where he is supposed to be, but man, he gets there slowly. And then Tyrell Dodson is just like a chicken with his head cut off, running all over the place, more athletically than Klein, but you really never know if he's going to be in the right spot or not. My guess right now is that the Bills starting linebacker on opening night is going to be Terrell Bernard. Is that a good thing? I don't know. I don't know how you could know. We have so little data on Terrell Bernard at this point. We saw last year he got one start against the Jets, and it went so poorly, he didn't play another defensive snap the rest of the year. He couldn't even get a jersey in the playoff game when the Bills were down to you and me on defensive line. They just needed healthy bodies out there, and he couldn't get a jersey. But he's going into his second year, and quite honestly, he's the last mystery box left. We know what Tyrell Dodson is at this point, I think. We know what AJ Klein is at this point. I am very confident in. So at this point, I think it makes sense to go with the upside play with Terrell Bernard and see what happens. One name to keep in mind, Christian Kirksey, middle linebacker on the Houston Texans. I think he is on the roster bubble. I don't know that he's a perfect scheme fit for what the Bills do. I think he's like a little bit more athletic version of AJ Klein, the way he plays, very good pass rusher, not so good in coverage. The Bills cannot be picky here, though. He's a middle linebacker with starting experience, battling a little bit of a hamstring issue. That's a name to keep an eye on this week as teams cut down to 53. Another notable piece, David Edwards got the start at left guard in place of the injured Connor McGovern. We do not know how long Connor McGovern is going to be out, but that is telling that it was David Edwards and not Ryan Bates. So what does that tell me? It tells me, one, O'Cyrus Torrence, who started at right guard, is going to be your opening day starter at right guard. Fantastic. I hope that the Bills let him play through his ups and downs. There will be downs. There are some fantastic interior defenders in this division and on the Bills' schedule, and I hope they let him go through his growing pains because I think he has a very exciting ceiling. It also tells me that they love the idea of Ryan Bates being their sixth man, their backup center, their backup interior guard. And I think that that means David Edwards, if Connor McGovern has to miss time, will be your starting left guard. And that is fine. That should actually be an improvement in the running game. Might be a little dicey in the pass game, but the Bills have almost an embarrassment of riches with NFL starting quality guards on this roster. So if they could withstand an injury at one position, that was it. One thing I want to circle back to on linebacker real quick. Baylon Spector went down with a leg injury and he was ruled out. It ended up being a hamstring injury. Why that's notable is right now there is a big discussion on the 53-man roster cutdown of will the Bills keep 5 or 6 linebackers? And if they keep 6, it gets real tough at other positions for players like Shaq Lawson or Cam Lewis or Andy Isabella. Well, if Baylon Spector has to start the season on short-term IR, that clears the way for the Bills to keep 5 and have that extra roster spot free by Spector being on IR. Something to keep an eye on. Certainly something I would expect the Bills to take advantage of if this is a lingering injury. I want to talk about Trent Sherfield. He was not overly active in this game. He only had 2 catches for 26 yards, but man, he pops as a run blocker. We knew coming in he was one of the best run blocking wide receivers in this league. And my favorite 3 wide receiver set for these Bills is when you have Trent Sherfield, Stefon Diggs, and Gabe Davis on the field. You have Gabe Davis playing the X, you have Trent Sherfield playing the Z, and you have Stefon Diggs in the slot. We saw it a couple times today, and I love the possibilities there. I love how the Bills can play bully ball with their 2 run blocking wide receivers with Davis and Sherfield on the outside. And I love the fit of Diggs in the slot with those looks. I still think they're going to major in 12 personnel with Kincaid on the field, but I love that as a change-up look for this offense. Notable things happened at cornerback today as Christian Benford got the start opposite Tre'Davious White. And it was Dane Jackson coming in after Christian Benford left the game. Christian Benford had a nice pass breakup, a really nice tackle in the backfield. And at this point in time, I feel like there is at least a flip of the coin chance that Christian Benford is the starting cornerback opposite Tre'Davious White when the Bills open up against the Jets. And that would be a really nice turn of events because I think the frustration overall with Dane Jackson is not about Dane Jackson. It's about you have these 2 young cornerbacks on your roster, and neither one of them by year 2 have gotten over what we think we know Dane Jackson to be, which is okay, but you kind of want better. If that ends up being Christian Benford, that's a great result for the Bills. I know there will be frustration that the 1st round pick can't beat out the 6th round pick, but if you remember back to 2006, the Bills took John McCargo in the 1st round, Kyle Williams in the 5th round. Kyle Williams turned out to be an all-pro player, and John McCargo washed out. I believe it was the 07 or 08 draft. 08, they took James Hardy, not going to pile on him, RIP James Hardy. In the 2nd round, Stevie Johnson in the 7th round. Very similar circumstances where the 7th round receiver became a star in this league. If the Bills got a starting caliber cornerback out of Christian Benford in last year's draft, that is a win. And I think that would ease a lot of the frustration with what's been going on with Dane Jackson, who has been playing solid, but he's been mostly Dane Jackson, the guy we know struggles a little bit in coverage, baseline level starter. And I think the excitement level for Christian Benford right now is warranted. Kaiir Elam played into the 4th quarter in this game, guys. He was on the field in the 2nd half. He was covering kicks on special teams. I think it's apparent right now that he is 4th in the pecking order at boundary corner. I think there is a real conversation that Kaiir Elam could be inactive on game days, especially if the Bills keep Cam Lewis, because Cam Lewis can help this team at boundary corner if they get enough injuries to happen on game day to get them out of a game. And Cam Lewis can also contribute in many more ways than Kaiir Elam. Cam Lewis can back up in the slot, back up at safety, play 4-phase special teams. That is not Kaiir Elam's game at all. And I think we're looking at a very realistic possibility of Kaiir Elam being a healthy scratch to start this season, which unfortunately for him is not where he wanted to be going into year 2. I do not think this was a productive game for Andy Isabella. I don't care what his stats were. In fact, I'll pull them up just to get them out there. It looks like Andy Isabella had 2 catches for 2 yards, not ideal, but overall to me, it's more about the how and not the what. The how. He did not return kickoffs or punts with the 1st unit. That went to Deontay Hardy. That was notable. I thought it would have been a good sign for him if he was their primary kickoff or punt returner. And the 2 gunners with the 1st unit were Siran Neal, which is expected, and Justin Shorter. And then the other piece of this is it looked like Khalil Shakir was getting healthier, ready to roll. That obviously would make it very tricky to go with the plan that so many of us have been backing of putting Khalil Shakir on short-term IR to start the season and having Andy Isabella on the roster. At this point in time, I would put my money on Andy Isabella being released by the Bills and being added back to the practice squad. Look, I know we all fall in love with his speed. We love the route he ran in the Colts game. It was on a linebacker. And we love the possibility of having this guy that was at one point in time a highly thought of draft pick taken in the second round by the Arizona Cardinals, reinventing himself in Buffalo and kind of being found money for the Bills. But the reality is, I don't think he has been that far and away the most impressive person there. I think there is an argument for Khalil Shakir. And even though his highs are highs and his lows are lows, but there still is that roller coaster there that you want to see if you can channel the high of the ride. And you have 3 more years of cost control on him. So I don't know that the Bills have to live in this fear bunker that Andy Isabella is going to get scooped off of their practice squad. He was available to the Bills for a reason. 2 other teams have given up on him. And it's not like he went out and had a 150-yard receiving game in this preseason. I think the Bills can confidently feel like they can get him to the practice squad. And if they don't, and they have to go with someone like Tyrell Shavers or Keyshawn Johnson, it is what it is, guys. I don't know how consequential Andy Isabella is going to be ultimately to these Buffalo Bills. That is it for the news and notes I have on this preseason game. Luca and I will be back on Monday morning to break it down much more in depth. By then, I will have gone through and had multiple rewatches. Hopefully, all 22 is available by then. I did get to watch the game on NFL Sunday Ticket YouTube app, which was kind of neat. Let me know in the comments how that went for you, because I had no issues with it. The picture was clear. There were no hiccups with the coverage. I'm optimistic about YouTube right now that it is on the main YouTube app. That's kind of an aside. Let me know what you thought about the Bills' preseason performance as well. While you're here, please take a moment to like and subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it, as it helps us out so much in that great old YouTube algorithm. I am Josh McCarty. I will see you next time on Bills Chat Quick Chat.